Well, and a very good afternoon and welcome to KTN Business Today. We're coming to you live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where we are marking the second day of the public symposium by the Interministerial, where we saw a number of different cabinet secretaries making statements regarding what the Jubilee administration has achieved in their 3 years in office. A number of cabinet secretaries did present yesterday and more presented today. We'll be having that interesting conversation here this afternoon. We have a panel of experts on board. We will be speaking to Kevin Tuitoek, an analyst, as well as Maurice Odwor, who are with us this afternoon. Also, we have a live audience. As you can see, a collection of students from different universities will be helping us, also just sharing some of their various views regarding the Jubilee's scorecard. But first things first, let's begin with a look at how the money markets have been performing, as well as the stock markets. Glimpse of how the money markets look like this afternoon, as well as the stock markets. We'll be giving you the latest numbers on how the markets have performed at about 3:30 p.m. But like I said, we're still keeping it here at KICC, where the Interministerial Public Symposium has been going on since yesterday. And today we did see a number of cabinet secretaries make their presentations. Among them was ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru, as well as Dr. Hassan Wario, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Sports, Arts and Culture. We also did see the Ministry of Youth and Public Service being represented today. We'll now do a quick recap of what were some of the key statements that they did make.
Jubilee government promised the Kenyan people a lot of issues as far as agriculture is concerned. The most important one was how to make agriculture commercially viable and make our people use agriculture to improve their livelihoods. And the critical aspect as far as that is concerned is to make agriculture production lower, to reduce the cost of producing agricultural commodities in this country. The other aspect is to make productivity increased so that agriculture makes sense to our population. How then have we gone ahead as a government to ensure that happens? We have done it by first ensuring that we reduce the cost of production by bringing in subsidized fertilizer, because fertilizer is the most important input as far as agricultural activity is concerned. And therefore, the government of the Jubilee government have spent 11.5 billion shillings to bring in fertilizer in the last 3 years. This has gone a long way to improve lives of over 500,000 people in this country. It has also gone ahead to influence the cost of production to another, I mean indirectly to another 4 million Kenyans. How has this happened? Some times ago, you must have recalled that the cost of one bag of fertilizer was costing as high as 6,000 Kenya shillings. But with subsidized fertilizer, the general cost, the commercial cost of fertilizer came to 3,000. Not to mention the fact that the cost of subsidized fertilizer to each farmer in this country is actually 1,800 for each bag of planting fertilizer. This was brought down by His Excellency in 2013 further to 1,800 when he was launching the soil survey at Njoro. And that brings me to how the subsidy has also been utilized actually to achieve the question of increased productivity. For a very long time, we have been using a traditional DAP fertilizer where, without knowing what type of fertilizer is supposed to be used in what type of soil. The first soil survey was launched by His Excellency at Njoro in 2014, which showed what type of soil exists in what area of this country. And this one directed the government to bring in fertilizer which is suited to the various ecological zones of this country. And therefore, with that combination, we have seen productivity going up substantially. As we speak now, we have moved the productivity of grain, that's maize, from 14 bags to 22 bags on average, owing to the issue of matching fertilizer with the type of soil. Towards that end as well, the government partnering with the private sector have also come up with a fertilizer production plant in Eldoret. This one is a blended fertilizer plant which will go along again to ensure that we actually provide soil-specific kind of fertilizer. So moving ahead, after the fertilizer subsidy program, which has been successfully implemented in this country and has brought down the cost of production, we also look at the issue of strategic food reserve. Any country, what its name, should ensure that its citizens at no time should have the risk of missing food. And towards this end, what has happened is that the government has increased, or first of all changed, the farmers' strategic grain reserve into strategic food reserve. That was extremely strategic. The reason was to increase the portfolio of the food items which is supposed to be included in this strategic reserve. Towards this end, what has happened is we have now included other food items like milk, canned beef, beans into the strategic reserve, as opposed to what we used to know as the maize, as the main food of this country. I don't deny the fact that when you talk of food in Kenya, you're actually talking of unga and ugali. But we want now to diversify that to include other items as main food items in this country. And so that has happened, and it has helped a great deal in stabilizing the prices. It has done it in two ways. It has helped the producer because there is a market for their produce. And they are not being exploited further by the middlemen, because at some point during the harvesting season, you find farmers selling their goods and their food as low as 1,000 shillings. But with this stabilization, using the strategic food reserve, the prices have gone up to 2,300, given the prices which we used this year. This has helped the producer to get better value for their goods. At the same time, it has helped the consumer not to be exploited also, because the price of 2 kilogram maize flour came down from 120 shillings to 105 shillings, which means this stabilization mechanism using strategic food reserve has actually worked for both sides.
Well, extremely loaded statements there by the cabinet secretaries, trying to cite some of the achievements they've made since taking up office 3 years ago. And as you know, the Jubilee Manifesto did spell out quite a number of pledges that the Kenyatta-led government did make for the people of Kenya. Just to give you a quick rundown of some of the Jubilee Manifesto promises, one of them was to ensure that there is free maternal health care in the country. The other pledge was on improving infrastructure across the country, which involved the execution of the standard gauge railway project, as well as the Konza City project. Other than that, one of the other pledges that the Jubilee Manifesto aimed to achieve was energy for all. This, in the manifesto, the Jubilee administration sought to ensure that every Kenyan household is connected to the national grid. Other than that, there was also a pledge to construct 5 modern sports stadiums across the country, something that will form part of the discussions that we'll be having here this afternoon. I now want to rope in a number of the students who are with us here this afternoon to discuss, has the Jubilee administration managed to achieve what they pledged? And as you can see, we have both genders represented. Of course, I can see we have more women in the house. But I'd like to throw to the first student. Who would like to go first to talk to us about what is the assessment of how the Jubilee administration has performed in its 3 years in office? Feel free, raise up your hand. We'll have a mic brought over to you so that you can tell us what your views are. If you can get a microphone to him to talk to us about what they feel about the Jubilee administration, and just to take a quick audit of what the Jubilee government has achieved. Just introduce yourself and stand and tell us the university you come from.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sam Ogina. My name is Nelson Bujeri Mandela from Moi University School of Law. Under the 3 years of Jubilee government, although the manifesto was very concrete and very elaborate, so far we can give them 40% out of 100. In matters, mostly I saw the CS talk about sports. At least there is improvement, but we are yet to see the stadiums. On matters, youth and empowerment, we had the PS from the ministry that is in line with NYS, that she said there is a lot of structures, although the corruption that has been in the ministry and everything. But as we can say, the key thing that is eating this country down is tribalism and corruption. Mm-hmm. The appointments, as you can see, all of us here are youth, we are from campuses, but if you look at the appointments that are happening, mm-hmm, then we can say we cannot see our tomorrow. Because unless we question it now, we cannot be guaranteed of tomorrow. But as the things are going, although they still have 2 years in office for the next general election 2017, but as per now, 3 years, we are supposed to be talking about 50% or 55%, but we're still talking about 40%, which is an underscore in this case.
Thank you for your comment there. We can move on swiftly. Anyone else with a quick comment to tell us what's the assessment of the Jubilee government?
Good afternoon. I'm Angeline Nduku from the University of Nairobi. I'm a sociology and communication student, and gauging the performance of the Jubilee government, I would say on a scale of 10, it has managed to score 6 out of 10. And I would focus on the health sector because I'll give an example of a very remote place in our country, that is Kuria East District.
Is that your constituency?
No, but I happen to have traveled to that place.
Carry on.
So, okay, I visited one of the health centers in that district, and it's a level 3 hospital, and as in the maternity health services, they are just superb, and you feel like you are in another private hospital, but it's just a public hospital. So kudos and thanks for the good work you are doing.